TeamVLR George here, back again with another video. This time around I'm doing a Kozmo Kontrol deck profile. I've been running this deck for a couple of months now. The reason why I'm doing the deck profile now is because A, I think the ban list is gonna fuck this deck up inevitably at this point. And B, the main reason, I'm changing the build soon. This is probably gonna be the last time you see the deck in this way. So I thought might as well release the profile now. So without further ado, let's get into the deck. First up is 3DD, basically staple at this point. I feel like this card is overhyped though, like people know how to play around it now. The main reason it's still at 3 is because it's a 3k beater and the interruption ability, it destroys one monster on summon, which is great for interrupting your opponent's plays, hence why it's still at 3. It's also a dark for Allure again. Next monster is Forerunner, a 1-of at this point. A lot of people have taken this card out. I feel like it still has a lot of uses, specifically in the time play when it's time and you need to gain a couple of life points. It's great for that. Another thing it's good for is the Monarch matchup. It has 2800 attack, so it can just crash into a Monarch and maybe float into a farm goal for an OTK. Still has its uses, and I think it's still good to have in the deck. Another one up is Kozmo Linewalker. A lot of people don't play this either. I feel like it's good in a couple of situations. It gets around a couple of cards, but then again, that's only once in a while. Hence why I run it at 1. It's a dark. It's a 1 tribute. Pay attention to the amount of monsters I have in the deck that are 1 tribute, because that has to do with the Kozmo control aspect of the deck. I'll be showing you guys later on what I mean by that. So yeah, I think it's okay to run this at 1. It's still decent, and it's a dark as well. Next up is 3 Slip Rider. I feel like this is staple as well, specifically for Cyber Dragon Infinity. Also, it's 3 MSTs, which is good in a lot of matchups. And I have a play with this in my deck specifically that gets over Imperial Iron Wall, hence why I need to run it at 3. Next up is Dark Lady at 2. You don't need to run it at 2. I just personally like to because my playstyle is more risky. Like if I tin can this and it's sent to the grave and I have no way to revive it, at least I have another one in the deck, so it's good for me. But again, you don't need to run it at 2. It's good at 1. You can revive the Sword Trooper and Call the Haunted, etc. Next up is 2 Wicked Witch. I run this for rank 4 plays. It's a very sticky monster. It has a nice attack and it's dark. So most times it's going to stay on your field for rank 4 plays if you want it the next turn, which is really good. There's a lot of good rank 4s. So I feel like 2 isn't a bad number to run. Next up is a combo piece or Sword Trooper. Really good monster. You can revive Dark Lady. He's level 3, so for rank 3 plays. And he's dark as well. So I feel like this is a staple in a lot of the Kozmo builds. Really good monster. Next up is the infamous Farm Girl. You run it at 1 now. It's basically only an E-Telly target. Even when you have it in hand, you're going to shuffle it back with Kozmo Town. It's great for OTKs, but then other than that, you really don't want to draw it. Still a staple in deck at 1, I think. This card is specific to my deck, I feel like. This is Ghost Ogre. A lot of people don't run this anymore. It's lost some favor. It's good with the control aspect of the deck. You can destroy a monster essentially when it activates the effect. But the main reason why I run it is to go into synchro plays for E-Telly. It is a tuner after all, which is great to get over some blockdowns. Next up is 1 Strawman. This may seem odd that I'm running Strawman at 1, but most of the times I don't want to see it early. It's a mid to late game card. I have to have a setup banished zone, so it's a good late game to float into. So I feel like running it at any more is going to be dead draw. Next up is another MVP in the monster lineup. We have 3 Tin Can, which is basically staple in a control kind of build. You want to see this first turn, you want to activate the effect with your trap set. Really good. You know what Tin Can does, you need to run it at 3. Really good. Now for the spells. 2 E-Telly, because I can only run 2 E-Telly. It goes into a lot of your combo pieces, Farm Girl, and Ghost Ogre, which is really great. You could set it, you could activate it at the end phase to avoid effect fillers for your Tin Can. Really good card all around. Next up is another staple. You have to run Kozmo Town at 3. It's basically the main engine of the deck. It's what gets everything going. It has 3 effects. Basically, you recycle from the banish, you reshuffle your hand, which is good for dead draws, and the destruction effect. Although with the release of Cosmic Cyclone and Spirit of White, it's not as good as it used to be. But I tech in a specific card just to avoid those plays. I'll get into that later. Allure Darkness, draw power now that it's at 2. That's why we run as many darks as we do. It's dead once in a while, but if you have Town on the field, it's basically a +1. Now to go into the control aspect, Kaiser Coliseum, I felt like in terms of your opponent getting over your plays, they can't get over a big ship, which is basically what you're ending up with on your field. Most of the times it'd be one big ship. They can't get over that said big ship, whether it be DD or Forerunner or anything else, unless they have 2 or more monsters, either to go into extra deck plays or maybe to activate effects and go into something else. So I think Kaiser Coliseum is a good way to technically lock that down. They're only going to have 1 monster to get over your ship, which is a lot of the times hard to do. Hence why I think it's amazing in this deck. Next up is Stormforth. This is what I was talking about in terms of having 1 tribute monsters. It's basically removal in this deck. Also, if your opponent has Imperial Iron Wall, you can tribute their monster to summon Slip Rider and then destroy Imperial Iron Wall. It's really good in the deck. It also makes going second a lot easier since this is a going first kind of deck. So I feel like it's good with the amount of 1 tributes I run. It is dead draw sometimes, but then again, that's a risk you take with these odd variants. And now we're going to the 1-ups of the spells. This is a Dark Hole. Again, good for going second. And the thing with Dark Hole is it's good for combos, specifically with Kozmos, because you can float it to specific pilots or ships that you want. So this is great in Kozmos. Another 1-up. This is MST. This is back row hatred. But another thing it is, it's also a search if you have Kozmo Town on the field. You do go minus, but then again, you're setting up plays. This is what I was talking about the new banish cards like Cosmo Cyclone and Spirit of White. If you chain this to that and target your own Cosmo Town Town's getting destroyed first instead of banished, which is good. So you want to get that search instead of it getting banished. Now for the traps, I feel like this is a staple. You have to run this in every build at 3. Basically your removal literally almost removes anything and sets up plays. If you save this on your turn, it's basically an e-tele, because then you can just go into a farm wheel if you have the ship. Really good card. It vanishes in the grave. Don't forget that. That's very important for a lot of decks. Essentially a DD Crow. You gotta run it at 3. Call the Haunted, just for tin can plays, special summon, whatever you sent to the grave. Make sure if you have Call the Haunted, you know what you're getting out with tin can, because a lot of the times people just pick cards that they didn't actually want to revive from the grave. Make sure all 3 choices are monsters you want to revive. So yeah, that's the main deck. Now we're going into the extra deck. So first up we got rank 3s. The Super Quantal rank 3, basically just back row hatred. You destroy maybe Imperial if you have to. Leviair for combo plays with Sword Trooper, get at banished Cosmo. Abyss Dweller for a lot of the decks right now, the meta decks. This is why you run Wicked Witch at 2. Castel, because he's one of the best rank 4 removals. Durandal, just the all-around rank 5. That's amazing. You summon it with a lot of the rank level 5s you run with Dark Lady and Slip Rider, etc. Lock Source is another good rank 5. Now the Infinity and Nova combo, you have to run these of course in Cosmos. Easy to summon, so why not? It is a somewhat expensive card though, warranted, so if you can't afford it, it's alright. You can use the other rank 5s that I said. Now for rank 8s, Lancelot. I feel like this is a really underrated rank 8. It's really good, it negates, attacks directly, destroys. Awesome card if you use it at the right time. And then Harbinger, good for negating spells. Everyone's using spells, so it's nice to negate them. Now for the Synchro is why I run Ghost Order again. Goyo, the best level 6 if you can afford Coral Dragon. Moonlight, good for the Blue Eyes matchup, essentially. Crimson Blader, good for the Monarch matchup, or Blue Eyes as well if you can destroy one of their monsters with 2800 attack. Archfiend, good in any Psychic deck essentially, really good at level 8. And then again, Leo, the best level 10, I think, that's just general. You can summon it with Forerunner, so it's okay. Now for the side deck, we run 2 Gamma Seal, get over problem cards like Utopic F-Zero or some of the Blue Eyes monsters that have a lot of attack that you can't get over. 2 Max C, very special summon heavy meta. Flying C, I would substitute this with Stygian Dirge. If I had one! 2 2 DD Crow. If you can't afford Cycle Reader, the DD Crow basically does the same thing. But the thing with DD Crow is it can banish the revival spell they use as well, not just monsters. So DD Crow is good for the Blue Eyes matchup. MST for some of these Demise decks and Pendulum decks. MST is a very underrated card. It still does work. 2 system down for the Kozmo matchup, or any machines in general. Master Restrict for the Monarchs. And finally, 1 Vanities, because it's at 1, for special summoning decks. If you set up and then you train this on their turn, there's basically nothing they can do, especially with Kaiser, etc. I know I went through the extra deck and side deck really quickly, but the thing is, those are just general cards. You know what they do and they're old cards, etc., and everyone plays them. So I felt like they didn't need explanation. Again, if you do want to see a card, just pause the video, search it up, see what it does. So yeah, that's my profile. It does a lot of work against a lot of decks. The control variant makes it a little more viable maybe than the other builds. You can get over a lot more things than maybe the normal Kozmo deck can. It was fun to play while it lasted. But yeah, I think that's the last time you guys will be seeing this deck. So tell me what you think in the comments down below. Test it. Tell me your additions, etc.